Hello guys, welcome back to my channel English Academy. Guys, please like, share, comment, follow and subscribe the channel. Guys, if you have subscribed the channel, now we come on the topic the poem Ode to the West Wind. Guys, in the last three videos we have studied about the poet and the first and the second stanza of the poem Ode to the West Wind. Guys, you know that the poet P.B.Shelley was deeply affected by tyranny, injustice, and the oppressions of the political rulers of that times. He wanted to establish a kingless, casteless, and creedless society in the world. So, guys, through this poem, he want to scatter his thoughts in the world, and he always thought that one day will come when mankind will be free from tyranny, injustice, and the oppressions of the political leaders. Guys, before explaining the third stanza once again in short, I am going to describe the first and the second stanza of the poem. Guys, you know that in the first stanza that in the first stanza of the poem, the poet describes the effects of the west wind as a destroyer and as a preserver. And the second stanza, he describes the effects of the west wind over the ocean and the sky. Guys, in the third stanza, the poet describes the effects of the west wind over the blue Mediterranean Sea. He says that the high rising waves of the Atlantic Ocean makes arched gates for the welcome of the west wind. The poet also says that the effect of the west wind is also felt at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Guys, the leaves of the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean at once recognized the voice of the west wind. Then they soon grew pale with fear and are separated from their branches. So guys, I told the summary of this stanza in short. Now we will explain of this stanza in detail. So guys, let's it start now. Thou who didst waken from his summer dream. Guys, first of all, we will see the meaning of one by one word of the line of the stanzas. Thou who didst waken from his summer dream. Guys, in the first line, the poet says that the west wind disturbed the Mediterranean Sea in his sleep. Guys, thou means you. Thou words refer for the west wind who didst waken from his summer dream. Guys, here the word his refers for the Mediterranean Sea. Waken, to wake. Guys, in this line, poet uses the literary terms personification. Here, Mediterranean Sea also personified here. Guys, what do you know about the literary terms personification? Guys, personification is the attribution of personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human or the representation of an abstract quality in human forms. Guys, I hope that you understand the meaning of the personification. Now we come on the next line. The blue Mediterranean where he lay. Guys, in this line he says that the blue Mediterranean Sea was lying in his sleep and dreaming during the summer season. Guys, next line, lulled by the coil of his crystalline stream. Lulled, guys, lulled means caused to sleep by the music. Coils means music. Guys, in this line, the poet says that the sea was sleeping by the music which was caused by the rivers. Next line, Beside a pumice isle in Bass Bay. Guys, pumice isle means an island formed by the deposits of lava from a volcano. Guys, in this line, the poet says that the Mediterranean Sea is lost in his summer dreams beside the pumice island in Bass Bay. Next line is that, and saw in sleep odd palaces and towers, querying within the waves in intenser day. Guys, querying means shaking or moving. Guys, in this line, the poet says that the ocean was seen in his sleep, and palaces and towers are now drowned at the bottom. Next line is that all overgrown with azure moss and flowers. Overgrown means covered with, azure means blue, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers. Guys, in this line, the poet says that at the bottom of the ocean, old places and towers are overgrown with moss and flowers. Next line, so sweet, the sense faints picturing them, thou. Guys, sweet means beautiful, faints means unconscious, picturing means describing. So sweet the sense faints picturing them. Guys, in this line, the poet says that on these palaces and towers, most of such overpowering sweetness grow that the very thought of them comes with such a heavy perfume that the poet's sense faints when he pictures them. Next line is that, thou for whose path the Atlantic level powers. Guys, in this line, the poet says that when the west wind blows over the Atlantic Ocean, there are high rising waves are caused by the west wind. Next line is that cleave themselves into chasm while far below the sea blooms and the oji boots which wear the shapeless foliage of the ocean know. Guys, cleave means divided. Cleave themselves into chasm while far below. Guys, in this line, the poet says that when the west wind blows over the Atlantic Ocean, there are high rising waves divide themselves and makes arched gates for the welcome of the west wind. The sea blooms and the oji woods which wear. Guys, sea blooms means sea flowers, yeah, flower plants. Dams, oji means dam. Woods means trees. Bear means have. The shapeless foliage of the ocean no. Shapeless means juiceless leaves. No means recognize. The shapeless foliage of the ocean no. Guys, in this line, the poet says that at the bottom of the sea, there are trees and plants which have juiceless leaves, and these plants are shapeless. Guys, next line is that thy voice suddenly grew grey with fear, and tremble and despoil themselves, O hear. Guys, thy means here the word thy refers for the west wind. Voice means sound. Grow grey, become grow grey means become pale. Fear means tremble. Guys, in this line the poet says that they are equally affected by the west wind, and the sea plants suddenly become pale as if with fear. The poet also said that the west wind blows in the autumns, the plants on the land wither, the plants at the bottom of the ocean also fade and fear. Next line is that and tremble and despoil themselves, O hear. At the last line of the poem, the poet says that at the last line of the stanza, the poet says that they start trembling at the sound of its approach and set their lives out of fear. The poet again prays to the west wind to hear his praise for his help. So, guys, I hope that you understand the meaning of one by one word of the line. Now, guys, we will explain the whole stanza. So, guys, let's start now. Thou who didst waken from his summer's dream, the blue Mediterranean where he lay, lulled by the coil of his crystalline streams, beside a fumus isle in Base Bay, and saw in sleep old palaces and tower, quarrying within the waves intershade, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers, so sweet the sense fans picturing them. Guys, in this line, the poet says that west wind disturbed the Mediterranean Sea in his sleep. Guys, the poet says that during the summer, the sea soothed by the pleasures of the summer. Sorry, guys. Guys, in this line, the poet says that the west wind disturbed the Mediterranean Sea in his sleep. During During summer, the Mediterranean, soothed by the pleasant sound of bright rivers which fell into his waters, had gone to sleep, lulled by the coil of his crystalline stream, beside a pumice isle in Base Bay, and saw in sleep out palaces and towers, querying within the waves' intenser day, all overgrown with azure moss and flowers, so sweet the sense faints picturing them, though for whose path the Atlantic labors powers. Guys, the poet says that during summer, the Mediterranean, soothed by the pleasant sound of the bright rivers which fell into his waters, had gone to sleep near an island made of lava in Base Bay, not far from the Nepals. In his sleep, the Mediterranean had dreams. From this dreamful sleep, the sea was aroused by the violence of the west wind. In this sleep, the sea dreamt of old palaces and towers of the cities buried under the sea during earthquake and volcanic eruptions, slightly trembling in the bright and clear light of the ocean below the surface. On these palaces and towers, mass of such overpowering sweetness grow that the very thought of them comes laden with such a heavy perfume that the poet's sense faints while he pictures them. Guys, next line is that for whose paths Atlantic labor powers cleave themselves into chasm, while far well below the sea blooms and ogy woods which wear the sapless foliage of the ocean. No, thy voice and suddenly grow grey with fear and tremble and despoil themselves. O hear. Guys, in this line, the poet says that when the west wind blows over the Atlantic Ocean or the Mediterranean Sea, a great disturbance is caused when it sweeps through the sky. In these lines, the poet describes the effect of the west wind on the Atlantic Ocean. The west wind is accorded a warm welcome by the waves which cut the surface of the sea to make furrows for the west wind to pass. At the The sea blooms at the ogy woods which wear the shapeless foliage of the ocean know thy voice and suddenly grow grey with fear and tremble and desperate themselves which O hear. Guys, in this line the poet says that the west wind is accorded a warm welcome by the waves which cut the surface of the sea to make furrows for the west wind. To pass juiceless leaves, they are equally affected by the west wind. They start trembling at the sound of its approach and send their leaves out of fear. The poet again prays to the west wind to hear his prayer for his help. Guys, in this line, the poet says that the sea plants suddenly grow grey as its fear. Guys, I hope that you understand the explanation of the whole stanza. Thank you so much, all of you. Guys, don't forget to like the video